Vehicle and shutdown.
3 contact sensors tripped.
Engine shutdown confirmed. Power's nominal vehicle is charging.
IMU reports lunar gravity and it is stable.
Khan, Chief Engineer on Ops. Y'all select the landing. We're on the moon.
Aerospace just became the first commercial company in history to complete a fully successful moon landing. Congratulations to the entire team. This is such an incredible feat for Firefly, NASA, our nation, and the world as we pave the way for a lasting lunar presence.
Congratulations, Bridget. And to our Firefly and NASA teams, what a nail-biting moment in history. The joint teams are now celebrating or enjoying this much-deserved celebration at our landing event here in North Austin, Texas. This marks the beginning of the next phase of the mission, surface operations. How are you feeling, Bridget?
Honestly, overwhelmed. I am so proud of our team. Firefly has a way of constantly exceeding expectations. This is a perfect example of that. Over the last 4 years, so many dedicated Fireflies across different teams and disciplines came together to make this happen. Now we have a permanent presence on the moon with every employee's name engraved on a Blue Ghost plaque. So now when we look up at the moon, we can tell our kids and future generations that their family name is up there. Thanks to this team and everything they have achieved. But it's not over. We will be operating the payloads and gathering even more data that will make an even larger impact on the future of space exploration.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now this lunar lander is gearing up to conduct those surface operations and downlink that anticipated image from the lunar surface. So while we stand by for that, we have Tony back with some guests from NASA's Science Mission Directorate. Tony.
Here, we're going to be right here. Welcome. Thank you, Nilofer and Bridget. Now joining us is Associate Administrator for the Science Mission Directorate, Nikki Fox, and then the Deputy Associate Administrator for Exploration with NASA Science Mission Director, Joel Kearns. Nikki, Joel, I mean, what a momentous occasion. How are you guys feeling? We're on the moon!
So my question is, what do you think of that Firefly team?
It is such an exciting time. I mean, what a huge congratulations to everyone. Now, Nikki, can you tell us a little bit more about why this landing location was chosen and why, Blue Ghost is on the near side compared to when some other landing sites are chosen for other of our Eclipse flights?
Yeah, absolutely. We choose, I'm sorry, I'm just so excited right now, but we choose our landing sites very carefully. Our Eclipse landers will go to the South Pole, to the near side, to the far side. This one in this really perfect location. We want to study the geological features on the moon. We want to study the interaction with the solar wind. We want to just learn more about the regolith. We want to be able to prepare for our future astronauts to go and keep them safe. And so we chose the science instruments perfectly to go to this incredible place on the moon.
That we did. And Joel, this is the most NASA science that we have sent on Eclipse flight thus far. Can you tell us a little bit more then? What is the primary goal, or what are we hoping to find then with all of this?
So we're landing in a place that's of great scientific interest, but it was also in a very achievable place to land. And there are studies that range from studies of the sun that we'll conduct from the surface of the moon, studies of the abrasive dust of the regolith. We're going to drill into the surface. We're going to pick up regolith. It was going to answer so many questions over this one lunar day long mission. It's going to be really one for the history books.
That's right. And speaking then about all those questions that we're going to answer, Nikki, tell us, what then of the science and data that we learn on the moon, how can that help us back here on Earth?
So there are so many ways that, everything we do in NASA science is so interconnected. We study everything from the center of the sun to the edge of the universe. Right now, focusing on the moon, learning more about particularly things like, how that regolith, how it sort of interacts when we land, what the plume looks like, how sticky it is, if we can clean it off those surfaces, just telling us all about that. For us here on Earth, all this technology that we're sending up to the moon continually all has real-world applications as well. And so everything that we do, coming back and serving humanity and inspiring the world with NASA science.
That's right, we sure are. That's really fascinating. Talking more about, some of the scientific instruments that we're sending. As we know, Joel, some of those science instruments have flown on prior CLIPS flights, and they're also scheduled to fly on future ones. Why is that? Why do we choose some of the same instruments for certain flights and different ones for others?
Well, we've only really been to a few places on the surface of the moon during Apollo or even with our robotic surveyor craft from the 1960s. There were a bunch of measurements we really want to take to characterize overall around the moon. Sure, especially the South Pole where our astronauts will go initially, but there are particular scientific questions where you have to take the same measurement on the near side or the far side in a mare, one of these frozen lava pools, as opposed to the Highlands Mountains, to really understand the moon, and based on that, to better understand Earth.
I can't wait for that. And, Nikki, talk to us then about some of the lessons learned then that we have, learned from now our other CLIPS flights that were applied for this one or, for the future ones.
Yeah, I think one of the amazing things about our CLIPS providers is they are all there for one another. Even today, Jason was sharing stories about what some of the other teams have been sending. Good luck to Firefly today. It is just an amazing community. And that is what we wanted to do with the CLIPS program, was really get this sustainable commercial lunar economy and have it led by American companies. And that's so important to us. As Joel said earlier, we're not doing this as NASA. We're doing this in partnership with these American companies. And so, just seeing the community that we're building is just so, so amazing. And so just congratulations to everybody.
Yeah, very well put. To both of you, how are you guys feeling right now that we're on the moon?
I don't know, it's all in a day's work, isn't it? Really, it's a Sunday. No, honestly, it is so, so, so amazing. We were standing outside watching it, and Joel was getting instant, feedback from all those amazing people in the mock. And it's just incredible it was just, I don't know, seeing it come down and then you're suddenly like, oh my God, it's 5 kilometers above the surface. And so it's just an amazing, amazing achievement. I am so proud of everyone in this room because you all had a part in putting this lander on the moon. Whether you're a Firefly or whether you're a family member of a Firefly or whether you're a member of the amazing NASA science team, congratulations.
And remember, they made it look easy. It's not easy.
Thank you, Nikki, Joel, so much for joining us. Now we'll send it back over to our hostess, to Nilofer and Bridget.
Welcome back. For those just joining us, Firefly successfully touched down on the moon in an upright, stable condition, becoming the first commercial company to complete a fully successful moon landing. We expect to have the first image within the next 10 minutes, depending on the signal strength of our S-band antenna. The timing will vary based on the position of our lander and the ground stations on Earth. If the S-band data rate is limited, we'll likely need to switch over to that X-band antenna, which needs to be deployed and calibrated. At that point, we'll plan to share the first image during our press conference in a few hours.
And I don't know about you, but we're on the edge of our seat waiting for these first pictures. How are you, or how does it feel knowing that Firefly is leaving their mark on the moon?
I don't think there's another feeling that even remotely compares to this right now.
I'm sure you've been... So, you know what? I have to ask, because we talked all about the engines. We saw that great visual data telemetry. I know you have something else to show us. Do you have anything else
I
here?
always have goodies. I always have props.
You did work on our engines.
We love hardware here. Let's take a second here
We're
to
just
get
doing
out.
a quick safety briefing on, or a safety practice on something that Bridget has for us to see today. Oh, this is cool.
It is cool. Oh, let's move this out of the way here. All right, so I love talking about Spectre. This is that 200 Newton Hypergol engine. You will notice I am wearing gloves.
Right.
The hypergol propellant is actually a toxic propellant, and while this has been completely decontaminated, we still want to take safety precautions just in case. But yeah, you can tell that so there are, if you want to actually show on that lander, but there are 8 of these engines on the lander. Okay. So we have pairs on each side.
Right there. All right.
Exactly.
Okay, so we see our 8, and those are the Spectre engines that we see right here. Got it.
And then it's a biprop engine, so we have 2 different propellants here.
Okay.
And because it's hypergol, we don't need a third ignition source. They just ignite on contact with each other, which is pretty cool. And these are our Kraken main valves. We love to have fun names here at Firefly. And then it'll go through the injector here, combust in that thrust chamber, and then expand out through the nozzle. It's pretty impressive. So this is what the team designed, developed, tested, and built in about a 2-year time frame.
And these 8 Spectre engines, those were the ones that were firing in those quick pulses, like you described, like a bird flapping its wings or at the blink of an eye.
Exactly. So they just continue to iterate and pulse just like that.
You've taught me a thing or two on these engines. I really appreciate that, Bridget. So how are you going to be celebrating this moment with your family, with your friends, with your fellow Fireflies?
I'm going to go home and give my kids a great big hug, first off, and then maybe sleep a little bit. All right, and so while we wait for that photo to come in, we're going to go back and check into the stage with Tony.
Hey, thank you, Bridget. We are now here with Jason Kim, the Chief Executive Officer for Firefly. Jason, congrats on landing on the moon.
Congrats to all of our Fireflies.
How does it feel? How is it, how are you and the Firefly teams feeling right now?
They're just fired up right now in the mission control room. I mean, they were just pent up, holding it all in because they were calm and collective and cool the whole time. Every single thing was clockwork, even when we landed. And then after we saw everything was stable and upright, they were fired up. They were fired up. We got some moon dust on our boots.
That's awesome. And now you can use the EDS shield, EDS payload to take that off.
Yes, I love that EDS payload. I love all the payloads.
Absolutely, we love all 10 NASA payloads, that's right. Jason, this is Firefly's first moon landing. What message would you like to give to the team that have worked so hard on this mission?
Well, I'm just in awe of all of them. I've been that way since I, witnessed the company, during their launches, and then finally with this whole campaign. I'm just in awe of all of our Fireflies and just all the hard work that they put into this, all the extra sacrifices they did from their family and friends. So thank you to all the family and friends. All that design work, all the testing, all that simulation, it finally paid off. And we're just so glad and happy for our team.
Absolutely, and now you're on the moon. I mean, Blue Ghost is finally on the moon. What do you think, or what do you hope that this mission means, or this message sends to all the aspiring and future engineers and scientists that are looking to one day enter the aerospace industry?
Well, if you look at everybody in that mission control room and everybody at our company, you don't have to always be a rocket scientist, although we have some great ones at the company. We have people from all walks of life, and in that control room, people that started off with music careers or seamstress or welders. They're all from all kinds of careers, and they just landed on the moon. So, we hope this inspires the next generation of kids and STEM, K through 12, because, have them dream big. You never know where you're going to land. We just landed on the moon. So, we hope that the Fireflies today inspired a whole generation.
That's right. There's space for everyone in space.
That's right. Especially in Texas.
You know, it was discussed earlier, Firefly not only develops lunar landers, but you guys also build and launch rockets. Can you tell us a little bit more about what else is in store for the Firefly team?
Well, you know, right after this, we're going to get ready for our first launch of the year. We're going to launch our 1-ton rocket called Alpha. It's America's rocket, and we're going to launch Lockheed Martin's LM-400. It's their mid-class satellite. It's a beast, and we're just honored to launch that satellite. And we're going to launch multiple times this year. Things like Victus Haze for True Anomaly, and there's other, you know, Space Force missions that we have. So we're going to continue to launch at cadence, and then we're delivering our medium launch vehicle first stage by the end of the year. We just finished our first stage LOX tanks, so we're incredibly proud of that. And then, you know, we were working on Blue Ghost 2, Blue Ghost 3 as well, so we're not done. We're not finished with these moon missions. And, you know, I think there's this Electra spacecraft that we don't hear too much about. That's a space maneuver vehicle, and we're going to launch the inaugural one this year for a responsive NRO mission.
You got a lot of things coming up. I mean, do you have a favorite?
My favorite is always the next one. The next launch, the next lunar lander, the next one.
Very well put. You know, I know we're all very much looking forward to that. Jason, thank you so much. I mean, everyone here is so excited. Can we get another cheer from the crowd? Awesome. All righty, well, we'll go ahead and send it back to our hostess, to Nilofer and Bridget.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Jason. Congratulations once again. If you are just joining us moments ago, Firefly became the second American commercial company to touch down on the moon with its Blue Ghost lunar lander. Now, we're standing by right now for that first moon image, which we expect in the next 15 minutes or so. So while we wait, Bridget, do you mind giving us a little bit of a preview on what's next for this mission?
Yeah, sure. So this is going to be the beginning of our surface operations. Within the next 2 hours, Blue Ghost will perform surface commissioning in order to activate each subsystem and perform health checks. We'll also deploy and calibrate that X-band antenna that we spoke about earlier. That's going to increase our bandwidth and begin downlinking HD imagery and video. And then following surface commissioning, we're going to begin those 14 days of the payload operations.
Great. So that includes deploying that surface access arm with the lunar planet vac sample, that little vacuum to collect some samples.
Right up there, you can see on the screen. And then Blue Ghost is also going to deploy 4 tethered lunar magnetotelluric sounder electrodes, or LMS, on the lunar surface, in addition to a mast on Blue Ghost's top deck, which stands 2 meters above the lander to help study the deep interior of the moon. We'll also begin subsurface drilling operations with the Lister payload that remains attached to Blue Ghost.
So that will be really great. And after the first image, there's a lot more to come from over the 14 days of surface operations, literally. There's that solar eclipse that the team expects to capture on March 14th, where the Earth blocks the sun from the moon's surface. And then we also have a few days later to capture that lunar sunset we discussed early on in the broadcast, but that is expected on March 16th, where it will verify that dust levitation phenomenon that was seen at the last Apollo, when the last Apollo astronauts were on the moon during Apollo 17.
Exactly.
And so finally, Blue Ghost is expected to operate for some hours into the lunar night as well. So it means that there's still so much to look forward to during this mission. I'm really excited.
Me too. And so while we continue to stand by for that first moon image, we're going to go ahead and check back in with Ray, who was just in the Mission Operations Center with the Firefly team during that impressive landing.
Hey, thank you, Bridget. Joining us once again is Ray Allensworth, Firefly Spacecraft Program Director. Ray, I mean, how are you feeling? What an awesome time.
We did it! That's amazing! I'm so, my heart heart's beating so fast.
I know, I can see that. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, you were just in Firefly's Mission Operations Center. Can you tell us how everyone was feeling in that moment, what it was like?
It was so quiet for just like, I mean, it was like a 9-minute burn, 12 minutes, like getting, through PDI, pitch over, and then you just hear these 4 call outs. And I think I'll just forever hear like our chief engineer Will's like voice, like we successfully landed on the moon, and then just everybody kind of lost their minds. I'm sure y'all did too. Yeah.
We sure did. It was great. Now Blue Ghost is on the moon.
Yeah.
What's the team doing now?
So they're all business again. So I had to leave because I couldn't keep it together. So they are immediately going into health and safety, and then it's really just immediate into payload ops. So we landed at the beginning of the lunar day, and we want to maximize as much of that time as possible for all the payloads. So they will immediately dive into that, and really these first 3 days after landing are going to be just jam-packed. Just try to get every single payload op going that we possibly can.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about those surface operations and now kind of some of the most exciting moments that we can look forward to while Blue Ghost is on the moon?
Yeah, so I like to say that when we land on the moon, I think the lander kind of comes to life. The Lister drill will go down, the surface access arm will deploy, we'll have probes coming off the side of the lander, so a lot of different payload ops, but there's also a couple other phenomena that we'll see on the surface. So we will witness an eclipse while we're on the surface, and then at sunset, we expect to see this kind of phenomena where the dust levitates off the surface. So that we'll try to, we will photograph and video all of that.
That is so cool. When it was being discussed earlier, that lunar sunset, I think we were all like, wait, what are we going to be looking at? Exactly. Yeah. No, I love that. This, as was mentioned, isn't going to be the only lunar mission for Firefly. Can you tell us a little bit more about the upcoming ones, what we can expect, how those will look?
Yeah, absolutely. So Blue Ghost Mission 2 is well underway. We're moving into the integration phase of that mission. That mission is really special because it's not just a lander, but it's also our Electra vehicle that's going with it. So that'll help get it to lunar orbit. And then once we deploy Blue Ghost in one of our NASA payloads, that will actually act as a comms relay. So that is, far past CDR in integration, getting ready to go. And then we just did our kickoff for Mission 3. So we're gonna be pretty busy for the next couple years.
Very busy. I mean, and you just mentioned for the next lunar mission, you have to use, it's not just going to be the lander that you're sending, you're also using the orbiting spacecraft, the Electra vehicle. Tell us how that works, why it's needed, for Blue Ghost Mission 2.
Yeah, so Blue Ghost Mission 2, we have a lot more payload mass, but also we're deploying a fairly large payload lunar pathfinder into orbit. The transfer stage will get that whole stack to lunar orbit once we deploy from the launch vehicle, and then it deploys LP, and then again, it's staying as a comms relay, because we'll be on the far side. So we're really designing that vehicle to be able to operate for 5 years. So it's a pretty robust vehicle, and it shares a lot of heritage from the lander.
That's really cool. I cannot wait for that one to get underway. And as you mentioned, the second mission, that's going to go to the far side. Are there any challenges or any differences, I guess, with landing, right now on the near side compared to now for the next one that's going to be a different location?
I think we know less about the far side. So, we had a relatively good amount of data for our specific payload site for Mission 1. We're landing equatorial far side on Mission 2. A little less familiar with that area, but really, it's really well suited for the payloads because they want it to be totally radio silent. So it's dark in that regard. We'll learn more about it as we go through integration and the mission ops phase for that mission.
That is super exciting. I can't wait to learn about all the different things that you guys uncover along the way. Now, Ray, for you personally, I guess, what's next for you? What are you going to be doing for the rest of this mission, or are you now full steam ahead on